Your bank account can grow faster than your definition of rich. That's the strange thing about becoming wealthy. You might reach a number you once thought would change your life, and then discover something uncomfortable. You don't feel rich. You still check prices. You still think twice before making certain purchases. You still worry about the future. And sometimes, the person with a much smaller net worth can actually feel richer than you do. Why? Because becoming wealthy changes your finances, but it doesn't automatically change your expectations. And that's where the psychology of money gets interesting. Imagine someone who spent 20 years believing that $1 million would mean freedom. They picture the day they finally reach it. No financial stress, no worrying about bills, no hesitation before spending. Then, it happens. Their investments cross the $1 million mark. For about 5 minutes, it feels incredible. Then reality arrives. They still have a mortgage. They still have taxes. Their children are getting older. Retirement is closer. And suddenly, $1 million doesn't feel like the finish line anymore. It feels like the amount they need to protect. Then the question changes. Is this enough? And that question can be far more dangerous than not having enough. Because once your brain becomes accustomed to a certain level of wealth, that level becomes normal. The house you once dreamed about becomes your ordinary house. The car you once considered luxurious becomes your normal car. The vacation you once considered special becomes your annual vacation. And the lifestyle that once felt extraordinary eventually feels like the minimum. This is called hedonic adaptation. Your brain adjusts to improvements in your circumstances.
Here's the part most people misunderstand. Feeling rich and being rich are two completely different things. Being rich is about resources. Feeling rich is about expectations. You can increase the first without increasing the second. Imagine your income doubles. At first, you feel wealthy. Then you upgrade your home. You upgrade your car. You eat at more expensive restaurants. Your vacations become more elaborate. Your monthly obligations rise. Eventually, your new income doesn't feel impressive anymore. You haven't necessarily become poorer. Your reference point simply moved. That's why lifestyle inflation is so powerful. It doesn't usually arrive as one terrible decision. It arrives as dozens of reasonable ones. A slightly nicer apartment, a better vehicle, a few more subscriptions, a larger home because you can afford the payment, a vacation because you deserve it. None of these decisions looks catastrophic, but together they quietly redefine what normal costs. And once your lifestyle becomes expensive enough, your wealth stops feeling like freedom. It starts feeling like something you have to maintain.
This creates one of the strangest paradoxes in personal finance. The more you need to feel rich, the harder it becomes to feel rich. If your definition of success is always one level above your current lifestyle, you can spend your entire life chasing a moving target. Earn $80,000 and you want $120,000. Reach $120,000 and suddenly the people earning $500,000 become your comparison group. Your financial situation improved, but your perception of it didn't. And social media makes this worse. You don't compare your life to the average person anymore. You compare it to the most successful-looking people you can find. Someone else's house becomes your benchmark. Someone else's vacation becomes your benchmark. Someone else's investment portfolio becomes your benchmark. And suddenly, having enough feels like falling behind. But there's another reason many millionaires don't feel rich. Wealth creates something that income doesn't, something to lose. When you're building wealth, every dollar saved feels like progress. But once you have substantial assets, your brain starts protecting them. A market decline that barely mattered when your portfolio was small can feel enormous when the balance becomes significant. $1 million portfolio doesn't feel like $1 million you can spend. It feels like something you have to preserve. And that's rational, because wealth isn't just about accumulation. Eventually, it becomes about sustainability. How long can your assets support your lifestyle? How much can you safely spend? How much should remain invested? How much should you keep available? The bigger the number becomes, the more complicated these questions can feel. So the millionaire who appears financially comfortable from the outside may still be thinking about money constantly, not because they're necessarily struggling, because their relationship with money has.
And this leads to an important distinction. There are two ways to become wealthy. You can increase what you have or decrease what you need. Most people focus almost entirely on the first. Make more money, buy better investments, increase your income, grow the portfolio. All useful. But there's another lever. Lower the amount of money required to live a satisfying life. That's where financial freedom becomes powerful. If you need $15,000 every month to feel comfortable, your assets have a much bigger job. If you can live an excellent life on $7,000, your financial freedom arrives much sooner. The goal isn't necessarily to live cheaply, it's to become expensive only where it actually improves your life. That's a very different philosophy. Spend heavily on the things you genuinely value. Spend very little on things you don't. Don't upgrade something simply because your income increased. Upgrade it because your life genuinely becomes better. That distinction protects wealth from lifestyle inflation. Think about the last time you bought something expensive. How long did the excitement actually last? A week? A month? Maybe longer. Now compare that with something that gives you ongoing freedom. A paid-off debt, an emergency reserve, an investment that keeps compounding, the ability to leave a job you hate, the ability to help someone you love without financial panic. Those things don't always look impressive, but they create something luxury purchases often can't. Options. And options are one of the most valuable things money can buy. So, if you're trying to become wealthy, don't only ask, how much money do I need? Ask a harder question. How much is enough for me? Because if you never define enough, every milestone becomes temporary. Every raise becomes the new baseline. Every achievement becomes normal. And you can spend decades becoming richer without ever feeling rich. The irony is that financial freedom may not begin when you finally reach some magical number. It may begin when you stop moving the finish line. Because wealth isn't simply having more, it's having enough, and knowing that enough is enough. Subscribe The Wealth Logic. We run the numbers nobody else bothers to run.